Imagine this. You've spent ages picking out the perfect gift for someone you love. You find a beautiful wristwatch, wrap it up carefully, and bring it to the celebration. But instead of joy, the recipient suddenly asks, "So, do you want me to give you a coin?" You can't just hand someone a watch like that. Some people believe such a gift will lead to a falling out. Others are convinced the watch will start counting down the time until you part ways. And in the darkest version of the superstition, it's as if the watch is showing exactly how much time that person has left to live. But how did an ordinary timekeeping device turn into a dangerous gift? Where did this superstition come from? Did it really originate in China? And why is one tiny coin supposedly enough to break the curse? Let's start with the most famous explanation. In Chinese culture, there really is a traditional taboo against giving watches as gifts. But the reason has nothing to do with the mechanism itself, or some mysterious power hidden in the hands of the clock. It's all about the language. In Chinese, the phrase "to give a watch as a gift" sounds something like "songjong." Almost identically pronounced is an expression associated with being by someone's side at the end of their life and seeing them off on their final journey. The characters and the meaning are completely different, but the sound is so close that the gift takes on a grim undertone. It ends up sounding as if the giver isn't just handing over a watch, but essentially wishing the person closer to the end of their road. It's considered especially inappropriate to give such a gift to an elderly person. Even if the giver had no ill intentions at all, a watch can come across as an unpleasant reminder of age and the approaching end. In Chinese culture, there are plenty of superstitions based on word sound. Certain numbers, plants, and foods are considered lucky because their names resemble words like wealth, fortune, or longevity. Other objects are avoided when their names sound like separation, the end, or death. So the taboo on watches isn't just some random superstition. It was born out of a language in which even a completely harmless phrase could sound like a wish for misfortune. But here's where things get interesting. In Chinese, wall clocks, table clocks, and wristwatches can all be referred to by different words. So the original wordplay really applies mainly to large clocks, not necessarily to wristwatches. But over time, the popular explanation spread to practically any device that measures time. When this superstition made its way into retellings in other languages, the original reason gradually started to fade away. Someone who doesn't speak Chinese hears no grim wordplay at all, which means the old taboo needed a new, more understandable explanation, and it wasn't hard to find one. A watch counts time. That's exactly what makes it a symbolically unusual object. Most gifts don't measure anything. A book just sits on a shelf. A painting hangs on a wall. You use a cup, then put it away in the cupboard. But a watch never stops moving. Second after second, it reminds you that time is passing. People grow older, relationships change, encounters come to an end, and life slowly inches toward its limit. That's why watches have long been seen not just as a useful tool, but as a symbol of how fleeting human life really is. In old paintings, hourglasses were often placed right next to a skull, a burned-out candle, or wilting flowers. They were there to remind the viewer, time is running out, youth doesn't last forever, and death is inevitable. Mechanical watches only reinforce this image. Their hands moved ever forward, and their steady ticking sounded like an invisible countdown. As long as the watch keeps running, the relationship endures, but if it stops, the bond between people breaks too. This is likely how a new layer of meaning emerged in European and Russian retellings. A gifted watch supposedly starts counting down the time until separation. If a woman gives one to her partner, the couple will soon split. Give one to a friend, and the friendship ends. Give one to a relative, and a fight is sure to follow. Sometimes the superstition comes with an extra condition. The misfortune strikes the moment the watch stops. That detail makes the belief incredibly resilient, because every watch eventually stops. Batteries die, springs unwind, mechanisms break, or owners simply stop wearing them. And if a conflict happens around that same time, two completely ordinary events easily merge into one frightening story. The moment the watch stopped, we broke up. It sounds almost like proof of a curse, but nobody remembers the thousands of other times a battery died, got replaced, and life went on as normal. We only notice coincidences when they confirm what we already believe. There's another version too. The watch doesn't count down to a breakup. It literally steals away pieces of the recipient's life. The longer it ticks, the less time they have left. This version hits hardest when the gift goes to an elderly relative. A thoughtful, expensive present suddenly feels like a grim hint at approaching death. Yet there's no solid evidence of some ancient, singular prohibition in Russia with a clear origin. Most likely, today's superstition is a patchwork of several different beliefs. On one hand, there's the Chinese linguistic taboo. On another, the universal image of a clock as a symbol of fleeting time. And underneath it all, the basic human fear of losing loved ones. These threads wove together into a simple warning: never give a watch as a gift, or it will lead to separation. But why are we so quick to believe that a present can actually shape a relationship? Because people rarely see gifts as purely neutral objects. We're always searching for hidden meanings. A ring signals a promise. Flowers mean love or farewell. A knife suggests conflict. An empty wallet hints at poverty. A handkerchief foretells future tears. And a watch is just too easy to link to the time people share. When someone gives a watch to a loved one, the gesture could be read positively: "I want to share my time with you," or "May we have many happy years ahead." But superstition flips the script. From this moment on, our shared time is running out. The object hasn't changed, only the meaning we've assigned to it has. Watches can feel especially dangerous in relationships already strained by anxiety and mistrust. Imagine one person believes in the superstition, and the other decides to give them a watch anyway. The recipient might smile and say thank you, but a nagging unease lingers beneath the surface. At the first sign of trouble, that gift comes rushing back to mind. If the watch breaks, the anxiety spikes, and if the relationship truly ends, the watch gets blamed for causing it. That's how a superstition can shape real lives, no magic required. Not because the mechanism controls fate, but because a person starts expecting the worst. They notice every little confirmation of their fear, grow more tense, and react differently to ordinary disagreements. The superstition sets off a countdown, not inside the watch, but inside the owner's mind. And yet, people figured out a way to cheat even a prediction this dangerous. If someone gives you a watch, you're supposed to hand the giver a small coin in return. That way, it's no longer a gift, you've technically bought it. Formally, nothing changes. The giver still picked it out, paid for it, and brought it to the celebration. But symbolically, everything shifts. It's not a forbidden present anymore, just an ordinary purchase. People use this trick with more than just watches. A coin is often offered in exchange for knives, scissors, and other sharp objects, things supposedly capable of cutting through a friendship or a relationship. That's folk logic at work. If the danger lies in the act of giving itself, you don't cancel the object, you cancel the gift. A symbolic payment transforms one situation into another, and the superstition loses its power. So why does the smallest coin do the trick? Because the amount was never the point. Nobody is trying to actually reimburse the cost of the present. The coin is a sign of a transaction. The receiver is essentially saying, "I'm not taking this dangerous gift for free. I'm buying it, so the prediction doesn't apply to me." There's a small contradiction in all this. A person can insist they don't believe in superstitions at all, and still hold out that coin, just in case. That little phrase is what keeps superstitions alive for centuries. You don't need strong faith to perform a small ritual. Handing over a coin is easy, while skipping it can feel like an unjustified risk. What if the superstition does work after all? The reasoning goes, I lose nothing by paying one coin, and I'll feel calmer for it. And just like that, the ritual becomes a psychological safety net. It's interesting. For a long time, watches themselves were considered an extremely valuable gift. The first portable mechanical timepieces were expensive, intricate, and available to very few. They were given to rulers, diplomats, and powerful figures as a mark of respect, wealth, and technical mastery. Later, wristwatches became one of the most common presents for major life milestones. They were handed out for coming of age, graduation, starting a career, anniversaries, and retirement. In that context, a watch didn't mean death or separation. It meant responsibility, growing up, and stepping into a new chapter of life. And that just goes to show how contradictory the symbolism of a single object can be. A watch can mark an ending, but also a fresh start. You can read it as a countdown to goodbye or as a wish for a long life. It can remind you that time slips away quickly, and precisely because of that, it teaches you to cherish every minute. Even a stopped watch holds no mystical power. It usually just needs a new battery, a repair, or a fresh wind. It doesn't know who gave it. It has no idea what bonds two people share. It can't schedule a breakup, but the human mind struggles to stay calm around an object that so vividly displays the passing of time. We can't stop aging. We can't get a lost day back. We can't keep another person by our side forever. So the fear gets projected onto a mechanism that constantly reminds us of those limits. Superstition creates an illusion of control. If you don't give a watch, you can supposedly avoid a breakup. If you take a coin, you can cancel a bad omen. If you make sure the mechanism never stops, the relationship will supposedly keep going too. It's a lot simpler than admitting that the future of a relationship depends not on gifts, but on the actions of the people themselves. So, is it okay to give a watch after all? Of course it is, if the person genuinely wants such a gift and doesn't see it as a bad sign. A beautiful watch can become a treasured keepsake, something the owner will wear for many years. But if the recipient believes in the superstition, arguing with them at the moment of giving probably isn't worth it. A gift should bring joy, not anxiety. You can suggest beforehand that they symbolically buy the watch from you for a coin or choose a different present instead. Not because a coin can actually break the curse, but because respecting the feelings of a person close to you matters more than proving yourself right. So it turns out that the ban on giving watches has no single, simple origin. In China, it's tied to a grim homophone. In other countries, it picked up ideas about life's transience, time standing still, and relationships coming to an end. And then came the story of the symbolic coin, turning a dangerous gift into a safe purchase. Watches themselves never counted down the time until a breakup, but they do remind us that all time is truly limited. That's exactly why the best way to keep a relationship alive isn't to hide the watch or fear the hand stopping, it's to cherish the minutes people spend together. Have you ever been given a watch as a gift? Did you have to hand over a coin for it? And what happened afterwards? Did the relationship really end, or is the watch still ticking? Tell us in the comments. Maybe it's your story that will help us understand just how strongly this superstition affects people even today.